Hey, everybody.
What's up, guys?
Welcome to
We Used to Be Married.
a podcast about two hot ass college kids who dated,
Broke up,
dated again,
broke up again,
had a baby,
got married,
got divorced,
and we're still friends. High five.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, it's great.
Welcome to episode 5.
Mhm.
We Used to Be Married. I am Jin,
And I'm Zandy.
and we are not married.
Nope.
From
We've been divorced longer than we've known each other, right? I think.
Wait, that's not possible because being divorced also includes the time we knew each other. So there's no way.
Longer
the time
than
of
yeah, longer than we've been
we're together. Yes, okay.
That's what I really meant to
Okay.
say.
Oh, gotcha. The topic today we are going to be discussing is dating after divorce. Now, there's so many things going into dating after divorce now versus back then.
Right.
Because also, you went through 2 divorces.
Right. So we're not actually talking about dating after the divorce with you because we actually went over that in the last episode.
Kind of, yeah.
Getting into it with
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So dating after.
And then we'll compare the two because back when we divorced is 20. Just flicker. Can you stop flipping your hair?
Ariana Grande. Okay. No,
Okay.
but my hair has grown since the last time we recorded.
Okay, this is not an extension.
No, they're not.
Oh wow, that's your real hair. Good for you.
Yeah.
So it's been a minute.
Okay.
It has been a minute, right?
3 months,
No,
4
you can
months.
say fuck. We can say fuck.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no limitations on it. We just can't say people's names.
Listen, the reason that it's been so long is because your girl was dating, okay? And she got caught up. She got caught up in the dating scene, and she did not want to bother me because I could not be bothered.
She cannot be bothered when she is in. She is in until she needs to focus on something else.
Or got broken up.
It doesn't, work out. I didn't. Okay. Well,
yeah.
She got broken up with. Anyway, one of the things I really wanted to discuss, aside from your recent experiences, is very different than when we divorced, which was in 2011, 2012, and 2022 dating. Because
10 years later. 10 years later.
2012 had its challenges, but like the iPhone had just come out. Apps were not a thing. Dating apps,
yes, they were.
They were starting up.
I was on Match.com, and that's how I.
Right, Match.com.
Right.
But like it wasn't like so app heavy.
Now, that's true. I was on my computer.
It was websites.
You know what? You're right. I was on my computer.
So I don't like to be corrected by my ex-wife, especially. So I'm gonna let that one slide. But it is very different. The scene is very different. When I first started like trying to do the apps or whatever, it was just like, well, okay, nobody's really on these things anyway, not a big deal. You said, wow.
There was like OkCupid.
Yeah, there was Bumble. No, Bumble hadn't started. Bumble. See, exactly.
It was Match.com, eHarmony,
OkCupid. I think Plenty of Fish.
Was Tinder around?
Tinder might have been on its like first pass or whatever. So things have gotten, I don't know, easier in some respects and way more difficult in others.
Other than what apps were available or what dating sites were available, how else was it different than today?
It was still very much sort of like either go out and, meet someone at a bar, hook up. That was kind of, still a very normal thing to do. And then if I actually wanted to date anybody, generally it was kind of like, well, if there's a friend of a friend or someone that has some sort of connection to your social circle, that was kind of like my go-to. That was just kind of like, oh, that makes sense. That was kind of my mindset when I, back then.
Yeah.
Like I started the apps and I was like, nah, it really wasn't for me.
Okay.
Looks like you got a little pain behind those eyes.
Yeah, maybe a little.
You actually had success.
I did.
Right.
Well, I took it very seriously, to be honest.
Par for the course, yeah. That sounds about right.
Yeah. I'm not comfortable.
Is there anything you don't take seriously?
No. Period. I'm really uncomfortable with the notion of casual dating. Really uncomfortable. I date for seriousness.
So if you met someone at a bar and you vibed and you guys like hooked up that night, like that's your boyfriend?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't go to the bar to meet people. If that happened, wow, then that's kind of like, oh. But then definitely I would take it very seriously if we had a really good connection.
So that would be your boyfriend?
Maybe. But I like...
You like wake up in the morning and be like, hey, what are we?
The idea of going to a bar to go meet someone is creepy to me.
I say bar just like as the general social setting sort of thing. Anywhere you go, if you go to something that you enjoy doing, like ballroom dancing, I don't know, like anywhere you go when you meet people,
going to a social setting.
Yeah, social setting.
With the intent to go meet someone. Right? Yeah, I'm
there's
the
not
kind of person
necessarily-
who wants to do research first on a person. Like, so the dating app thing was very much like, oh, this is great. Like, I can filter out the people who don't meet my criteria first.
Yeah. So it did kind of make it easier. And then once you met someone after a divorce, it was like, a little period of time, and you met someone, and then you guys were like, okay, we have the same goals, aspirations,
right,
end game.
Right.
You got married.
Well, I would argue that it went the other way around. First, you have to check off all the boxes that you both have the same goals and aspirations. Then you start dating, and then you're like, okay, the connection is there, and then you make it official.
Yeah.
That's how like online dating works for me anyways. Yeah.
So you got married. What kind of motivated you to, because you did achieve a lot of stuff together that you initially thought you wanted.
Yeah.
Right? But something happened where you're like, okay, this isn't it. What was that like for you?
At first it was a lot of blaming the other person for the demise of our relationship.
Yeah.
And after being out of that relationship and going to therapy, I realized it was a lot of me. Like, I kept analyzing a lot of the problems that were happening over and over in my head, and like seeing it from an outside perspective with the new knowledge that I had from therapy. And I was like, oh, that was actually my bad.
Yeah.
That's because I didn't love myself enough.
Yeah.
That's because I have these insecurities from this, or that's because I have trauma and I'm triggered from childhood, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it all made more sense to me, but the damage was already done, and I recognized that. And the only thing I could do was move forward and love myself. And I did that for a whole year before I was like, okay, I'm ready.
And then back to the dating apps.
Yeah, I was like, okay, actually, I think I did it back in the fall of last year, or winter of last year.
Yeah.
And then I was like creeped out. I was like, this is not, I'm not ready. I think I was on it for like a month, and I deleted all the apps. Like, I think I did Bumble and Hinge.
Yeah.
And then in January, I was like,
respectable ones.
Yeah. I wouldn't date Tinder. But anyway, so I went back on it at the end of January, beginning of February, and I was like,
February.
And I was like, you know what? I'm good with myself. I'm good by myself. I really am craving companionship and affection.
And what happened? Me?
No, what happened was I met some prospects that were
paramours,
potential not lovers. A great fit.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I definitely wanted to ask you about, is because, like you were saying, and with apps, like you can set your criteria, what did you...
Don't ask me what I put as my criteria.
But that's the point of this. It's about...
Okay, let's just say this.
What are you willing to... I had
so many criteria that oftentimes it would say, sorry, we don't have a match for you. Come back later.
Yeah.
And I was okay with that.
Yeah.
I was like,
filtering
cool.
Through the absolute
I
trash.
don't want just anyone. I want at least these 17 things.
Okay. Yeah. So, okay, let me ask you this more specifically then. Then was it about finding someone to marry? Someone to spend the rest of your life with?
Good question. So I have been reading, and I follow on Instagram, Young Pueblo.
Mm-hmm.
And I read both of his books. He has a new book coming out called Lighter.
Yeah.
But I read Clarity and Connection, which is his second one. And the first one was, I forgot what the title is. Sorry. But
Google it.
Young Pueblo.
Googlers?
We'll put it right here.
No, we will not. Just Google it. Young, Yung, Pueblo, Pu.
Mm-hmm.
EBLO. Took me, it's like Pueblo. Yeah.
And I realized I wasn't looking for a husband. I wasn't looking for a father figure for my kids. I was looking for a partner who had also been doing the work to love himself and to, you know, go to therapy and, you know, do the work, which is analyze your analyze and what do you call it? Assess, I guess, and work through your past trauma and, you know, the pain and the
like,
hurt that you've gone through, whether it was from your childhood. Most of the time it is from your childhood, or a past relationship or past relationships.
And the funny thing, you say childhood, is like one of the things I realized. It's like, well, I mean, childhood not being like, oh, I'm under 18, like you can be 20 and still a child.
Right.
Yeah. So
Right.
it's not necessarily like, oh, you're 8 years old and that translates to your marriage.
Sure. Yeah. Yes. So I was looking for a person who wanted to build with me, to build and grow. Someone who wanted to reflect and have those kinds of conversations with me.
Yeah.
And the first person told me he had been through therapy and he was done. And so it was like, yeah, I've been through that. And I was like, cool, at least you've been through that. Like, that's good. But I learned very quickly that he was, he had the avoidant attachment style. So in the very beginning, he was super, like, he presented as someone very secure. And then as we got closer, it was like he always, like pieced out. Yeah. And it was only like when he wanted to hook up.
It's like when there's conflict, it's just like they're just gone. It's like, well,
actually, the first two people I dated and like really liked were both avoidant. And I don't know, I think I've been doing a lot of like research about that, and a lot of insecure, anxious attachment styles like me tend to gravitate to the avoidant. So
because it gives you something to work at, it gives you something to kind of solve.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
And like internally, that's I think, you know, someone like me, you know that about me too. It's like sometimes when there's nothing wrong, almost like you create problems just so your brain could be like, okay, cool, problem, I can fix this. I, you know, and it's like it definitely doesn't work when it's with someone else being involved. That's
it was really devastating because I thought I was ready, but I didn't know I actually wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
It sent me into a spiral of emotions and insecurity. And so I was like, I'm going to stop. I'm going to just give up. Like, so I deleted the app for like the 4th time. And then I think it was like a Sunday night or Monday night. I was like, no, I'm going to try again. And then I tried again. I think it was a Sunday. And I found someone and we matched, and he responded back to me, and we were going back and forth. He seemed really lovely. And we scheduled a FaceTime call. And the first 3 hours of our talk was literally just about our journey in therapy and what we had been learning.
Yeah, it's got to be really like something that must have like lit up for you, especially after the last few that you've been dealing with. But I mean, that's the thing too. I feel like that's kind of a hard thing to deal with, especially. No, not hard. Sorry, let me revise that. We both been married. We have kids.
Yeah.
Like, what is the end goal, right? Like, what are we looking for? And I think that's kind of one of the things that I was like thinking about the other day. I was like, yeah, because, and I said this to you, like, we've done this. We're not the end game is not to get married and have kids and whatever, because we already did that. Like, that's all here, and we still have most of our lives, you know, God willing, like ahead of us. So then, you know, looking for, like you were saying, the partner to build with.
Yeah.
Is such a, you know, like important thing. But then what does that mean?
It means, okay, so in my current journey in the last year and a half, almost 2, it's first of all, my goal is to love myself so much and to build a life for myself that I can really be proud of on my own, and just be so secure in who I am and myself and my body and my, you know, emotional, spiritual, all of that. Tracy Ellis Ross said it best. She's like, I could have, what did she say? A wheel of lovers, she said. But she's not trying to date someone unless they really add to her life and make it better.
Let me ask you a question then. Wheel of lovers, now that you bring it up, but like, how does that, I mean, does that align with how you see dating as? Because for me, I'm like, I'm a serial monogamist. I'll have a period of 6 months, a year where I'm single, do whatever, have a good time. But then I usually end up being in a significantly long relationship.
Same.
But like, Wheel of Lovers, that's such an interesting concept. Like, what, I mean, is that a goal to be able to live your life
No.
as yourself, but then have a bunch
No.
of people that you're like, oh hey, let's link
No,
up
that's
on
not what
Friday.
Tracy's hypothetical is not what she actually wants. She said she could easily do that.
Mm-hmm.
She could make that choice, but that's not her choice to do that.
Yeah.
So she's happy with who she is and the life she's created for herself. But if she did choose to date someone, to be in relationship with someone, it would be because this person significantly makes her life better. And that could mean many things. And it's someone who challenges her to go inward, someone who is, challenges her intellectually and makes her think about things she didn't think about before, someone who provides affection because she can't give herself affection, and that in many different aspects someone can make your life better than you can on your own. I am interested in the prospect of having someone to have deep conversations. I want to have hard conversations with someone. I want to learn how to be empathetic and compassionate to someone even when I'm hurting, and like in the pain be able to hold that person's hand and still love them and still find a way to be compassionate and empathetic, because that's life changing. That's transformative.
So you're going to be alone for the rest of your life?
Yes. So
I'm kidding. Of course, it is either the connection is there or it isn't. You have the hope, and the hope keeps us going, even though we will never achieve that. Never ever.
Shut up.
Because people are
Don't
terrible.
I want to say that the only reason someone would do that with me is because he's committed to me. And whether that's through marriage or calling me his girlfriend, or like showing through his actions that he's committed to me, like I want a committed relationship.
Yeah.
And the reason people get married, some people, maybe it's not most people, I believe is to show their commitment and share their commitment with their community, whether it's their family or their friends, whoever, the people that are most important to them. They're doing it to declare their love for each other and their commitment and dedication to each other in front of the people they love the most. That's what I want. So you could do that at a birthday party and just be like, I declare that I love this woman. And that's cool too. I think having a party and getting to dress up and getting to do all the fun things in a wedding, that's cool. I don't really like the prospect.
We had a fun wedding. I remember weddings, like
weddings. You had fun at the wedding,
right?
I couldn't drink. I was pregnant, 5 months pregnant. You were wasted with your friends. So yeah, it was fun, kind of.
Yeah. So,
but
okay.
I don't want to really spend that much money.
That too, right? Like, why wouldn't you ask for donations, go on a trip? Like, that should be, something that the focus should be on. But and the thing is, this is the thing I think about, like a lot of culture in this country is it's a lot of marketing. You're marketed to believe these are the things that need to happen. Like, for example, cereal. Why is that breakfast? It's like you just are brought up to believe, oh, you eat cereal for breakfast, and it's like, well, no. They advertise as part of a whole breakfast. So it's like, it's not even breakfast. It's literally just a bowl of whatever. We're raised
to Cinnamon Toast Crunch
is delicious. Listen, don't get rid of cereal, but just, it's not breakfast. But like, in weddings, it's like, oh, well, you have to have this big day and invite all these people and have an expensive wedding. If you don't have an expensive wedding, then what's the point? But statistics show that, like, the more you spend on the wedding, the higher the divorce rate is.
Really?
Which is a lot. Yeah. This is something that's verifiable. You can Google it. I'm not going to do it right now. Google it. But it's just like, it's almost like when you put on a show for everybody else for your own, like, oh, hey, look what I've done. I found someone to get married to. Well, you're doing it just for that purpose versus, like what you were saying, the connection. And maybe we had to do and go through all this experience to really come to the awakening that is what we really want in life from a partner.
You want that too?
Of course. I might not verbalize it as well as you or read Young Pueblo, but I do know things from my life experience, and that's one of the things I understand now. It's like if I have to be alone right now, like I'm in a committed relationship, we have our problems, we have our good moments, and we are constantly working at it. I think this is the first time in my life where I'm like, well, if I'm alone, I could be okay with that. I want this relationship to work out, yes, but I could also take a step out of it, and be like, hey, would I be okay alone? I'd be like,
Well, that
yes.
I think that's where
That
you
drive of like wanting to be with someone because you have to be with someone is like kind of not there anymore.
Well, what I was gonna say is that's the goal for me, is to be completely okay with being alone
It seems like you are though.
most days.
Right. And I think that's part of building that. You're going to have moments where you're not, but I think generally speaking, from an outsider observing, I'm like, she seems like she holds it together and does well. So don't make it weird. Don't cry. Jesus.
My sister called me today, like almost towards the end of the day of work, in between calls,
Yeah.
in between like fires and urgent things I was taking care of.
Yeah.
And it was a rough day today. And she's like, "Hi,
Happy
how
Friday."
are?" Yeah, she's like, "Hi, how are you?" And I was like, "Do you really want to know?" Because everywhere else, like everybody else who I talked to in that day at work, I have to be like, "I'm great, I'm awesome." I'm HR, so let me just put on this smile. Whereas, sometimes I'm actually not doing okay. And when my sister called me, I let my guard down. And I was like, I'm actually not okay. But that's not because I'm lonely. It's because I was going through a lot. Yeah. I am in a place, and this happened in the last week, you guys. The last week. It's been, what day is it today?
Friday,
September 9th. Yeah. It's been a month and a half since I broke up with, I guess you could call him my ex-boyfriend. I was his girlfriend for 6 days, you guys. I dated him for 4 months, and I was his official girlfriend for 6 days.
What did you do?
Yeah, what the fuck?
Nothing.
Nothing. And I think I moved past the grieving and the sadness.
Yeah.
Depression.
Yeah.
And I'm back in this place where I can say, I'm good. I'm gonna be okay. I'm not necessarily ready to download the app again.
Yeah.
That is a little anxiety inducing, even as I think about it right now.
I'm feeling it too, and I'm like, I noticed. I'm like, I'm anxious for you because I know, the last few months, like you dedicated a good amount of time, and you were enjoying certain things, and going through any kind of breakup. Because even though you were official for 6 days or whatever you want to say, 4 months is a significant amount of time, especially when you're juggling work and the kids, and there's a lot going on. So good on you.
Thanks.
And cry when you need to, but like your positivity is commendable, and I respect that for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the reason I'm not like jumping back into the dating scene is, one, because I'm not ready yet, and two, because I'm terrified of some of the cringy moments I've experienced.
Please, let's go into the cringy moments.
Online dating experience.
Yes, let's go.
Okay, I have number one story.
Okay.
And I don't know if I've told this already in one of our podcasts, but I really prefer face-to-face, like FaceTime, like the video calls. A lot of the apps actually build that in now. So a video conference call, or whatever you want to call it, a video call.
Prefer that
rather than just texting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna meet someone on the first.
Gotcha.
Like, we match. Okay, immediately schedule a date. Let's go out for drinks. Mm-hmm. No, I need to interview you first. I need to hear your voice.
That's fair.
I need to see your face. I need to see how you do when I ask you a really poignant question about your childhood. Or behavioral based questions. Honestly,
or like
I'm
your
using
exes, like tell me about.
I don't want to know that.
Really?
Yet. I want to know about. I want to
family?
know. So it's really funny because I'm currently trying to fill 3 positions at my job right now. Oh. I'm HR manager, and I use behavioral based questions, which means, can you provide an example of a time where you exhibited teamwork, or can you tell me about a specific time where you encountered conflict and you were able to resolve it, like that. So these are the type of questions I'm asking in my interviews with my Hinge candidates.
You're the
and I'm literally taking notes in a notebook. And can I just say, I told you this the other day, is the reason I was
the last time I went through an interview like that. It sounds terrible.
It's terrible. I'm sorry for anyone who has to go through an interview with me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm a great person to talk to. Okay, I make it enjoyable. I smile a lot. I do a lot of validating nods and smiles and and oh, that's interesting. So, anyways, I do that. And
who are you?
I'm a great person. One of my cringiest moments is when I was on a video call with someone on Bumble, and I told him about how I have two lovely co-parents, and it didn't work out. I've been divorced twice. I have two great kids.
Red flags.
And this person was saying like he messed up with his wife or ex-wife or whatever, meaning he probably cheated on him. He said, I messed up, right? Yeah. So I'm like, okay.
Not us. I never cheated on you. I never messed up.
Good for you.
Not in that specific way. I messed up in so many other ways.
So anyway,
okay, so he messed up. He cheated probably on his wife. So you're on a video call with this Bumble candidate.
And then I was having the worst time. And I lied. I was like, oh, I think I hear my daughter calling. I got to go check on her. I'll call you right back. I was trying to get out of this conversation. Yeah. So I hung up the phone, took a little break, and I was like collecting myself. And then I finally crafted a text message long enough to say, hey, I think I'm going to stay in the room with my daughter. She needs me. And also, I just wasn't really vibing. I don't want to waste your time. I know what I want. I know when my energy matches somebody's, and I know what I'm looking for. And he was offended by that. He was like, well, that's really sad because I just poured my heart out to you. And, I feel really bad for your kids that they, no wonder it didn't work out for the first and second. And I really hope to God there isn't a third. Good luck. And I was like, triggered much?
Damn. Okay, so that leads me to what kind of guys are dating? Do they look like me? Or they are of a different, lighter skinned?
What does that mean? What are you asking?
Do you have ethnic preferences?
What if I do?
I'm asking, do you? Is that one of the things? Because I know, cultural differences can be a huge thing, especially after.
To be 100% honest,
being married too.
I find it hard to connect with someone who isn't a person of color because that experience in America as someone of color is different than someone who's white.
You feel safer and more at ease with someone who has gone through.
And I'm not saying I'm racist against white people. Honestly, that's not what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm talking about who I want in a partner for life. Mm-hmm. Who do I want to connect with? Who's going to understand my challenges and my experiences as a brown person?
Because that's not something America. You necessarily have to explain every time.
Yeah.
Something that affects you, and then the other person doesn't get what the hell you're talking about. Yeah.
And then I will go further to say that I really enjoyed because my ex-boyfriend is Filipino. I really enjoyed sharing and being in a relationship with someone who's Filipino because, like you said, I didn't have to explain a lot. That isn't to say I didn't have to translate for him because he didn't speak Tagalog and I speak Tagalog. But still, our experiences were very similar in terms of the way we were brought up, the way our parents treated us, the way our parents, what they expected of us.
He sings.
He does sing karaoke, and he does it well. So thanks, parents, for teaching him how to do that. Yeah. So that was really interesting, and I am very much open to dating a Filipino. So if you're really, really hot, and you're Filipino, and you can sing, and you've been to therapy, and you are completely 100% okay with me having two great co-parents and two children, holla.
Oh, look at that. There's no alerts for anyone in your area. Wow. You might have just added more difficulty for finding a partner.
All by myself.
I never
don't wanna be. What?
Finish.
All by myself anymore.
Great work.
I don't want to be.
She don't want to be all by herself. Beautiful.
Thanks.
Way to float that. Way
Okay.
to float that. Okay.
Yeah.
Good voice. Okay.
Yeah.
I've never dated a Korean girl.
You have not.
I've never dated a Korean girl.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, low key, I feel like I'm a little afraid because of how I turned out. And I have a sister. I have an older sister. You know her, Jane. Ah, shit. Doesn't matter. I'm not gonna delete that out. I have an older sister, and given how we were raised and how we turned out, I'm low key terrified of Korean women, which is so strange. And I know
more terrified of Korean women than you are of Filipino women, because I
don't think I'm terrified of any women aside from potentially a Korean woman.
Okay.
And I can't really explain it. That's something I'm gonna have to explore on my own. But I don't really.
I don't understand what that statement means.
Explore on my own why I have this sort of. It's like how I'm afraid of Russians.
Okay, sorry. I thought you meant you're gonna have to date a Korean woman to explore that.
Oh no. I have I at this point I don't have any desire to necessarily, but it's a visceral reaction I have, and I have no idea why. It's the same reason I'm low-key terrified of Russians. I hear a Russian accent and it scares me. And I thought about it. I was like, maybe it's a generational trauma thing because our country was literally torn apart by, the Soviet powers and the U.S. powers. And I'm like, that sounds like a viable excuse of why I'm afraid of Russians.
Okay.
Or just movies growing up. Maybe all the Russians were bad guys.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I've never dated a Korean person. Never necessarily not wanted to, but I never really kind of got into that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I would necessarily do that in the future, especially because I'm in a relationship right now. But that sort of connection, I wonder if I would have that, because even though I'm connected with my Korean culture, I'm not necessarily sure how that would translate in terms of the dating scene, because my Korean upbringing was vastly different than what I know of any Koreans I know that had a certain upbringing. So I don't even know if that my experiences would translate, or if that's what something I would be looking for or even want to kind of entertain.
Okay.
I'm doing all right.
All right. Okay. What did I learn about dating? About myself. I learned that as much as you like someone, as much as you want to spend all your time with someone, you need to maintain your boundaries and space. You cannot dive headfirst into a new relationship.
Speaking of diving, you've seen those videos with the belly floppers, right? Like they're representing a country. And they don't do that.
The Filipino divers.
Oh my God. Thank you. I didn't want to say it, but yeah.
That's me. That was me. That won't be me in the future.
Belly flopping.
Because I learned my lesson.
Yeah.
That I need to create my safe space, my safe bubble. I need it. As much as I'm like, oh my God, I love spending time with this person.
Because you're a people pleaser.
So important. Yes, I'm a people pleaser.
Yeah.
And it's just important to have my own space for as long as I can have it. Because, let's say something works out really well and then you move in with someone, like their space is gone. I mean, you have to really cultivate and craft that when you are in the same space with someone, right? Yeah. So I learned that. And
because it's not about like the newness or the freshness, but it's the kind of respect that you have
for myself,
for yourself, and for the other person, to kind of
mostly for myself. That's what I need to prioritize, because I'm always prioritizing the other person's needs. And you need space? Okay, take it. But it's not like, listen, Zadie, you need space, because you need to learn to love yourself so much and be independent and be okay with being alone and being okay with being apart from this person. Check in, okay, but like, you don't need to text this person all day long. You don't need to be on like marathon phone calls until you fall asleep. You don't need to do that.
Also, this is a podcast, not a therapy session.
I think all of them are therapy sessions.
Yeah, okay.
So I learned that about myself.
Yeah.
And I learned that trust is something that you have to build over time, and there is no shortcut for that.
Absolutely not.
No matter what someone tells you, you can only build that through time and actions. And that goes for me. Like, I can't tell someone, like, please trust me. I love you so much. I would do anything for you. Like, those are just words. And you really need the time and the actions to prove that. That's the only way you can really build a strong foundation.
We didn't talk about any of my cringy moments. What the fuck?
No, this episode is dedicated to me.
No, it's not.
Yes, because I just came out of a relationship.
Yeah, so
and
what?
I have just recently started dating on the app. So this is about me.
It's about us. It's about we used to be married.
You are interviewing me.
You could do that on your TikTok. This is a collaborative
You're already
discussion.
In a committed relationship.
Doesn't
You're
matter.
Not dating right now.
Doesn't matter. I still had to date after our marriage.
Okay, so talk about that. You already talked about how.
Now I'm like, how do I
you met people through people. You didn't have to do the fucking research that I did.
Yeah, but I still have to like deal with people and do all kinds of stuff, and you don't even know about my dating experiences. That's so funny. Listen, just because you're dating right now doesn't mean I didn't date and my experiences aren't valid.
My experiences matter.
Yeah. No, but it is true. I mean, everything you're going through right now is
very fresh and relevant.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's like it's so fresh right now and so relevant to the journey that I'm experiencing. And the reason that we can be here right now is because it all comes back to loving myself so much that I no longer am holding on to like pain, grudges, anything. Like, we can come together and talk about our marriage, talk about our divorce experience, and be like, wow, we went through that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so this new perspective, this new place in my life, in your life, is like, that's the through line of this podcast. The new lens, the new perspective that we have right now in this moment in time can allow us to talk about these things freely and without holding pain, holding grudges, holding resentment. Like, even this person that broke my heart a month and a half ago, I do not hold that pain. I don't hold that grudge. I forgive this person and I'm moving on. And that is because of the place that I'm at right now. That is the reason I can actually talk about this in front of a camera and with you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really important. Because I kind of wanted to talk about something.
Okay.
Something I went through.
Oh, I'm excited. We didn't plan this. Go.
No. Sometimes it's not planned. Actually, most of our stuff isn't planned. But I remember, I think the most difficult period for me dating after our marriage, it didn't happen that long ago, but it was like, made me question everything that I thought about myself in terms of, like relationships and how I compose myself with, women. And I have to say, it was with someone Filipino. We used to work together. We always got along, and we hung out one night, and then we hooked up. And then the next day, she was like super weird with me.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't talk to me for probably like 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah, at work. That made it really, really weird.
Interesting.
And I was like, that's such a bizarre thing to me, because I was like, wait, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what it is. I mean, we've kind of recovered our relationship, and we're like kind of friends now again, and we've never talked about it. We've never talked about what happened.
Oh.
And there was a period I went through during those 6 months where I was like, did I
do something?
Mm-hmm.
Of course. That's the first place I think you and I and most people go to when something doesn't go our way.
Yeah.
It's like, what did I do wrong?
Yeah. And it was this crazy time for me, because I was like, wait, I don't black out. I just don't. Like, I have this thing. I remember everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this was not something that was uninvited. I would never force myself on anybody, or it got to that point where I was like, did I do something that she misconstrued maybe?
As non-consensual?
Yeah. And I'm like,
interesting.
Can come up with anything. But anyway, the end result is that we are still friends. Like, she actually reconnected with me at some point, because I even, especially after working together and stuff, I just was like, all right, cool. I just got to let it go. I don't know what to do to fix the situation. I've tried to have a conversation with her, and it became very, very awkward. And so I just kind of let it go. And then she kind of reconnected with me a while later, and I was like, well, then what happened? But I can't talk to her about it. I can't bring it back up, and she's definitely not.
You can't, as in you're not willing to, or you're too uncomfortable to do that?
It's both. I'm very uncomfortable with that, and it's so weird to think about those kind of experiences because that doesn't happen very often. Like I said, I'm generally a serial monogamist. Like, yeah, I'll hook up with people and do whatever, but it's always like consenting adults. You know what you're doing, you have a good time, and that's okay. That's just part of life. I remember going through that, and that was the first time where I had to take a step back and be like, I'm not gonna hook up with anybody. I'm not gonna go out on dates. I'm not gonna do any of that. Like, I locked myself down for, I want to say, like a year. Yeah, you didn't know that, did ya? Yeah, dating is fucking weird, man.
No, because I was really self-absorbed.
And being married, also that.
Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
also like, yeah, that was a lot. I mean, it is a lot.
Yeah. So when you're married, you mean you can't pay attention to the struggles of your ex-husband?
Exactly.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So anyway, that was just something that crossed my mind right now because we were talking about cringy moments earlier on. Your experience too. There were other ones, I'm sure. But that was the one that like really stuck out because I've never gone through anything like that where I was just like, wait, what? I just completely felt like not who I was. You know what I mean? And that's so weird, especially I think being a guy nowadays, cisgender, it's times are changing. It's not a bad thing at all. And I watched this video on TikTok the other day, and it was about this woman talking about like studies being done specifically about white American males and how a lot of them are not dealing well with independent women, and like how dating scene is changing because now the traditional roles that men are supposed to occupy, like the providers and all these things, like there's a lot of shifting going on, and women are expecting more from their male partners.
More in the sense of like emotional.
Emotional availability, maturity,
intelligence,
all that stuff. It's not just, hey, here's a paycheck, here's a car. Yeah, and that's one of the things I kind of took away from that video. Is like, wow, I feel that. Because even when we were married, I was like, oh well, if I work, that's how I provide support. But like, you didn't need that, and that's kind of part of this shifting of societal norms and rules. Like, it's crazy. Like, you are providing for your kids independently of having a husband. That's amazing, but in terms of just purely dating and trying to figure out what you want, which a lot of people want is kids and marriage, it's like you don't fulfill that role anymore. You're an independent person and you have kids and you're providing, and now you're looking for something more, which is why like dating nowadays, I mean, even before marriage, like I feel like things are shifting a lot. If you haven't been married and your goal is to get married, it kind of simplifies things. Because then you're like, oh yeah, you want to get married? I want to get married. Let's, that's what we want to do. But after that, that's when the real exploration starts. That's when you start really asking the tough questions.
Yeah, maybe I need to be dating someone who's already been married.
There's an idea. Yeah.
Maybe someone who has already had kids.
Yeah.
Because my ex-boyfriend has not been through either of those experiences. And he gracefully stepped into this world of mine for 4 months and did it like with a smile on his face. He was very, very kind and generous about all of that and never shied away from those things. Like, those were never the reason for him to not be in the relationship with me, which is great. Like, from the beginning, you should know that that's my situation.
Yeah.
And if you aren't willing to do that, then like, thank you next, right?
Yeah.
But there's also a level of understanding and experience that he didn't have. That, not to say that was a weakness or anything, it was just something new to explore, and that I need to help him and guide him through that. Or even like, he could only guess, he could only assume, or he never had that firsthand experience. So I'm wondering if that is the key to success. So if you're Filipino
one more time, yeah.
If you're Filipino, you're really hot, you can sing.
Oh, now they have to be really hot.
I said that initially.
No, you didn't.
I said that before I made the list. So
right.
First you have to be Filipino, really hot, can sing like really well, and harmonize, please, thank you. And also, you've been through therapy, you're still in therapy, hopefully, or at least still doing the work, right?
And you're not married still to someone else.
Oh yeah, please don't be still married. Like, okay? You're okay with the fact that I have been married and I have 2 wonderful co-parents and 2 kids. And you understand firsthand what it's like to be in a marriage, be divorced, and have kids.
Yeah, this is easy,
This
right?
is so easy.
This,
Like
you
I
can
should
just tick those boxes on the apps, right? Just like
done.
yeah.
I know he's out there somewhere. I know he is.
Wow.
I'm not gonna stop believing you.
Yeah,
guys.
yeah. Oh my goodness. Quick question: When is the right time to introduce your kids?
Great question, because I actually just had this conversation with them in the car this past weekend. I said, you guys, I'm really sorry for the fact that my last relationship didn't work out. I know you guys liked him and you really enjoyed spending time with him and his dog, because we still talk about that dog. We love that dog so much. I don't think I've met a dog that I've loved as much as that dog, and that dog loved me back as well, followed me around.
You had a dog.
Yes, I even loved that dog more than the dog I owned before. So anyways, I told them, I'm not going to introduce you to anybody I'm dating until we are officially committed in a relationship. Like, he's my boyfriend, I'm his girlfriend, and that could take months.
Yeah.
And I have to be okay with that. Like, that is a lesson learned, because man, we get attached easily. We, as in me and my kids, we get attached easily. We love people so hard, and I don't want to do that to them again.
That's very valid. I remember when I was starting to date, I was like, I can't bring any woman around Max because then I don't want him to be confused. And it's kind of, I guess it was easier for me because I was with you a lot.
Yeah, and also, I mean, like, it's different now. Like, he was how old? 2, 3. Now he's 13. My daughter is 8, and so they understand a lot more. More than I even think I know, and that they understand.
Yeah, and sorry, it just occurred to me. It's also important to kind of have your kids understand, or anyway, our kids to understand that relationships aren't linear. They don't have to be a certain kind of way. Like, I remember there was a period where I lived with roommates, and they were great, and they were just extra adult models that our son could kind of learn from.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the phrase, it takes a village. It's like, absolutely. And you know, like, okay, listen, if you have the capacity and the wherewithal and be perfectly married and, you know, send the kids off to college, all this stuff, good, do that.
Yes.
If you have that. But if it doesn't work out, also, like, don't be afraid to invite positive adult experiences, varied kinds of
non-traditional
relationships, and show, you know, your kids that these are also important. It's not the end goal is not to be married and have kids, because God knows the world's on fire. We've got 8 billion people.
Yes,
we have enough people.
End goal is to be compassionate people.
Yeah,
that's it.
Don't be a dick. Don't hurt people, and let people do what they do. I think,
and love yourself so much.
The bottom line is we are generally doing our best to introduce positive relationships and experiences and adults to our kids, as well as trying to be that for everyone else in our lives as well. Dating after marriage, after 2 marriages for you, very difficult. A lot of things, a lot of ups and downs, but it's a daily process. You just have to make good decisions
and love yourself so much.
The letter of the day.
The letter of the day is love yourself so much.
And remember,
it's not always about you.
Bye.